This is WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, May 14th, 2026, 7:30 p.m. at the Franklin Municipal Building. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using the number 1-929-205-6099. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens may join a Zoom using the information provided on the agenda. And meetings are recorded and archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. First item on the agenda is announcements from the chair. The full board is here tonight. We don't have anybody participating remotely on the board. We don't have any minutes to review and approve tonight, and so we'll get right into our agenda items. Isabella, can you please read off the first topic?
Yes, the time being 7:30 p.m., 137 Mastro Drive. Benjamin and Mona Kilbanoff, applicant is seeking a variance to eliminate a fence that is required to completely surround a swimming pool.
You can stand there or sit, if whatever's more comfortable.
I prefer to sit if that's right.
Yep.
All right, so I'm Mona Klibanoff. This is my husband Benjamin. We live at 137 Mastro. And like you stated, we're looking to get a Massachusetts state and ASTM compliant automatic safety cover with a layered safety system in lieu of a traditional pool fence. So our lot isn't a typical residential lot. It's 26 acres rather, and the pool that we're building is located in the interior of the property. It's 40 feet away from the house and far from any property lines or abutters. We have an expansive landscape with mature trees and natural features that provides significant separation and isolation that further serves as a barrier from surrounding areas and the pool area. We're not trying to reduce safety whatsoever. We're trying to enhance it. So instead of a fence, we're doing a layered safety system, like I was saying. So first, we have the automatic safety cover, which again is ASTM certified and it's Mass State Code approved. It functions like a true physical barrier. So when it's closed, it completely seals off the pool and it prevents any access, something a fence can't guarantee. It's designed to support significant weight, and it eliminates the possibility of any accidental entry. It's a permanent motorized system. It has a controlled operation and built-in safety shutoffs. Second, we have a pool alarm system. So this actively detects if anything enters the pool. It's called the B-cone system. It's like a buoy that floats in the pool. So if it's triggered, there's a loud alarm at the pool, in the house, and it sends notifications to our phone letting us know in real time that somebody has entered the pool. So it's not just passive protection, it's actively. That's ASTM certified as well. Third, we already have door alarms on all access points of our home. So any door leading outside, we receive an audible alert in the house and a mobile alert to our phones when a door is opened. So this ensures that all access points in our house are controlled and continuously monitored. Fourth, we already have exterior surveillance in place as well. It has a dedicated monitoring zone around the pool. So if anybody enters that area, we're immediately alerted on our phone and we can verify what's happening in real time. So again, with these layers of protection, we have the prevention through the automatic cover, detection through the pool alarm, access control through the door alarms, and active monitoring through the surveillance. So it's not a single safety feature, but it's an integrated system with redundant checks with one another. A fence is a passive barrier. It can be climbed, gates can be left open. It doesn't provide any alerts if someone enters. Where with us, again, we can prevent access, detect entry, and we're provided immediate notification. So granting this variance, we think, will not nullify the intent of the bylaw, which we think the purpose of that is safety, and we believe our approach meets that and in some ways exceeds it, and is appropriate for a property of our size and layout. So we respectfully are requesting an approval of the variance. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. In the application, there is sections to explain hardship, and then also if this is any issue with, I'm gonna get all the language right. So the supporting statement for the variance is if a literal enforcement of the provisions would provide a hardship, so I'll ask you to speak to that. And then also to make sure that there's no substantial detriment to the public good.
Right.
So if you could speak to those.
Yep, so we think in terms of detriment to the public good, we don't think there is, because we're already offering safety protection through all those points that I had mentioned. So detriment to the public good would be if we were risking safety, which we don't think we are, because we're providing equal or greater safety than a fence would with all of our monitoring that we have in account.
And there's no access between where our house is set back so far and our immediate neighbors. So it's forested and an incredible amount of brush. You'd really have to put in a lot of effort to be able to access our house from pretty much any point along any one of our butters or our neighbors. We are, and from where our driveway is, we're 1,000 feet set off the road, far off into a wooded clearing. In terms of, the hardship, it's what we budgeted and what we were, initially planning for was that we believed that what we were doing was, because it's approved by the Mass State Code, we thought that that was sufficient. Putting in, a fence and development and what goes on with it and everything would be financially a hardship for us that would have a hard time dealing with right now.
Okay. How this is going to go is that the folks on the board can ask questions and comment, and then we'll open it up to any abutters or other public that are here.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. I will go, I'll start with Joe.
Okay, I got a few concerns. I'll start right off with the first question. Do you have a generator at your home?
Yes.
So you have an automatic generator. If the power goes out, your whole property lights up, electricity that would enable this to still work?
No, not an automatic generator.
Not an automatic one, but this automatic pool cover has a safety feature in it, I think, that takes that into account. I'm just reading the guide. Let me see. Let me go back and read it.
Is there a battery backup?
I think there's a battery backup to it for that case.
Yeah, I believe that this model specifically has a battery backup to make sure it can close.
Okay. I also
Yeah.
seen something from one of the abutters here. There's a photo here. And it doesn't look like that house is 1,000 feet away. The neighbor's back deck, I can count how many windows are on the side of the home.
So-
it's
That's a
not-
very zoomed in photo. I took our own photo and I actually measured it and took measurements. And that abutter is specifically 370 feet from where our pool is,
Correct.
which is not a typical, a neighboring.
No, I understand.
distance.
I looked satellite image of your home, and 99% of your property is all in the back and goes out to Partridge Street.
Yep.
This is mostly right on your street, within an acre or two lot, basically, you could cut out, and still, that's all extra forest in the back. So the way it was presented, it made it sound like it was this huge parcel, away from everybody, but on my satellite images, you do have neighbors. Yes?
Yeah, we have neighbors. We're, off our immediate cul-de-sac, we're set 1,000 feet back. But when the trees are mature, like they're coming in now, it does serve as like a natural
A visual
barrier.
barrier, but not a safety barrier.
Right.
Okay. The part that caught me a little concerning is when you said if something falls in the water, it'll alert your phone. Well, that means you're not around the pool. You're somewhere else when that alarm goes off. So things can happen quickly.
Right.
And as much as I love technology, I'm not 100% sold on it all the time. It can fail. And the fact that someone could go in their home and just be casual and thinking the phone's going to make it happen if something, things can happen.
Right.
We're not solely relying on that, though. That's just another
It's a warning
secondary.
signal.
It's a-
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
understand that.
beacon itself actually has its own alarm. It detects disturbances in the actual, in the water.
Okay. And some of the photos you sent, a beautiful pool, is that actually the one that you're going to be building? Because it appears on some of these photos that this is like up about 3-4 feet elevated from the ground level. Some of the photos with the cover you sent. Or is that just the photos that you had given us of the cover itself?
I didn't submit any photos of our actual property.
No, the pool itself. You
I-
said, there was some photos on here of what a cover looks like, and it was a backyard.
Yeah, that's not our backyard.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
I was under the impression maybe this pool might be elevated 4 feet off the ground, but your pool will be ground level,
It will be
Yeah.
elevated,
It'll be elevated slightly, but we're,
going up 4 feet.
yes.
So you'll be able to walk around the outside perimeters of the pool?
You would actually have to climb up to actually the pool. There'll be riprap around it as well.
I wish we'd brought some photos that would really, drawings that would explain more to what we have, because I'm going by what you submitted. And I didn't know if that was the pool maybe already installed, or... if-
No, it's currently being constructed right now. So, I mean, I can show you some photos. Yeah, I mean, it's just... I mean, do you want me to walk up there and show it to you?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I went by what was submitted, and that's what I studied on.
Is it an above-ground style? So if you're saying it's 4 feet off above the ground?
No, to make it level, it actually had to be kind of built up, and then actually it's being backfilled in around it with a steep 45-degree slope, and then it's going to have riprap around it as well.
What I'm saying though is it's not like a solid wall. I'm gonna walk up to 4 feet of a wall
no.
and stop and then...
Go up, no.
look.
Not like a retaining wall. you
So
mean?
an animal or something could walk up there slowly and walk around that pool. It could go up that little bit of an incline. Or
Sure.
a child.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. I personally had some experiences with swimming pools as a kid with animals and stuff, and it was a sad sight. I'm a fan of a fence. I'm just an alternate here, I'm just giving suggestions. I have no vote in this tonight because you have a full board here.
Yep.
But that's my opinion, and we can have the rest of the board members.
Thank you. Megan?
I really feel the same way. Joe's made a lot of good points. I think technology is, a great thing, but, power, there could be disconnect stuff, it could be at work. I know I'm not around with my phone a lot at work, work on stuff where there's maybe no cell service but I think these sound like nice things. I think this looks really nice. I feel that honestly, kids in the area, maybe enticed, by that, from, hear about this nice pool in this area and stuff like that. I think a fence is the appropriate thing for that.
And we were, my main thing was, I know I was mentioning the pool alert and the notifications to the phone. My big premise was the pool cover serving in lieu of the fence. Just because, I was saying, I know in the opposition letter by our abutter, she was worried about, well, if it's left open? And I totally understand her standpoint. We have 3 young children too, our youngest being 4. So safety is our primary concern. Sure. That will be closed whenever it's not in use. And I know she's worried about it being left open, but a gate can be propped open, a fence can be propped open, a kid can open up a fence. And I'm saying like, there's also accountability on her part too in terms of adult supervision. If a child's coming that much onto our property and the parent isn't aware of that, I understand she's concerned. I'm concerned with my children too, but I think that the cover completely covers the pool. The access to it is by a key. So a kid can't just go over and press a button and open up that pool cover or close it. That's totally controlled by an adult. So I understand the concern, just didn't want you to think that I was saying like, oh, things getting sent to our phone is gonna take over
Sure,
the
sure,
the
yeah.
fence.
Okay. I guess that, yeah, that's all the
Yeah.
comments and questions I have.
All right. Isabella?
Thank you. In the sort of the cover of your application here, there's
Yes.
mention of you're seeking the variance to not have to construct a separate pool fence. And I'm wondering, when you use the word separate, does that mean there's some other fence around your property already that we're not aware of?
We don't have our own personal fence.
There's no other fence around your
The majority of our abutters that are in the neighborhood next to us have fences. It's just, I think the neighbor who wrote the opposition letter doesn't have a fence.
Okay. The next thing I'd like to ask you about is just, I think it's been mentioned, right? Technology
Right.
is great in some instances, but it is fallible. Is there, what happens if this cover malfunctions, if it stops working, or if you just forget to close it? Is that a concern for you? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, that's why we were putting the other systems in check with it too, just to kind of watch ourselves. And like I said, a fence can be left open. You don't know when anybody's entering when there's a fence. But with us, God forbid it malfunctions or anything, we will know if people are accessing it with the alarm system, a notification to our phone. So we have a Nest camera out there. We have a Simply Safe that alerts us to the doors. So you'd have to have like all four things fail at one time to not have any idea about what's going on around there. So I mean, I look at it the same way as if I would be concerned if somebody left a fence open. We would have concerns
You can't
regardless.
actually open the actual cover. It is completely sealed on all four sides. And again, it is Mass State Code approved. So there are towns that only require that. So it has been vetted by, the state.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you about the hardship. In your statement, you mentioned that the hardship is you have functional use and design of large residential property. I wonder if you can elaborate on that or be more specific?
In terms of how we would use our property?
Well, that was what you used, that's what's in your statement, is the hardship is that you would somehow lose functionality of the use and the use of your property.
Probably in the sense that, so it's an expansive property back there, and we were thinking about putting in eventually down the line, like gardens down back there, doing it, like an escape for people, or like, because we do have trails that we can put in, walking trails back there. So I think we were just looking to have it be one big cohesive, not broken up design for just future planning.
Right.
So, I mean, we didn't want to like kind of limit ourselves. So I think we were just thinking with doing the automatic cover, serving that as a barrier, we would still have like the openness to our property that we originally had envisioned.
So have you considered putting the fence around more of your property as opposed to just around the pool?
Yeah, so we would love to put fencing around the
That would be
property.
an incredible
It's an
financial hardship.
incredible financial, we would love to be able to put it around everywhere, and probably eventually we would. It's just something that we couldn't do now.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
A few questions. If the property ends up changing, and maybe this is through Madam Chair to Building Commissioner, if the property ends up changing hands, would the pool be grandfathered in, meaning at that point, say the technology goes with you, or the new homeowners have different technology or not that they want to implement or not, because like a Nest camera is not, you know, by way of any sort of code requirement or zoning bylaw, technically a means as a safety precaution related to a pool, right? So like next homeowner comes in and they don't have a Nest camera, they don't have, they take off alarms to the door. At that point, you know, is there any way for the next homeowner to require them to put in a fence, or are they grandfathered into the current situation?
Gus Brown, Building Commissioner, through the Madam Chairwoman. I think what you're asking is, if they were to get the variance granted, what happens after that? Is what
Yeah,
I
like
think I
if it's a
heard.
new homeowner, like the pool cover's there, it's part of the pool, but like the Nest cameras go, or the alarms to the exterior doors, because related to the pool itself, right, like you can have alarms on your exterior doors, but the way that your property's set up and where this pool is being proposed to go, your doors for your home aren't anywhere near the pool. So like, who's to say the next homeowners just take off those alarms, right? So in terms of like all these additional safety measures, let's just say those are gone.
Variance
And
runs
all
with
it
the-
is
Variance
the,
runs with the property forever.
right, but the variance isn't based on homeowner own, you know, cameras and door alarms. It's based on granting the pool cover
If you made that all
situation. So it's
special
only,
conditions.
it's only the pool cover that would have to be maintained, right? There's nothing that says at that point you have to go back and put a fence. So my point is in the future, it's possible that like all those additional safety measures that you're saying you're gonna implement as a current homeowner, who's to say those exist in the future?
I promise you we're going nowhere. This house is taken.
Sure, but stuff happens.
No, right,
you know what I
right.
mean?
No,
Like-
I totally
like,
understand.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying by the way of the
Yeah.
letter of the law.
Right.
Through,
Correct.
through the chair. There's no check and balance system when a house is sold for a pool
Right.
unless it is the home inspector. And I can assure you from experience that a lot of things are let go, just from age, on above, in-ground pools that have fences around them. I know the state has allowed this. We have a bylaw that doesn't allow it. That's all I'd like to say about that.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. My next just comment is that required fencing around pools isn't like your traditional, like, go get a fence at Home Depot and it's like, you know, the perimeter of your yard. Like, there are pool-specific fencing requirements to adhere to pool safety measures that require the latches to be up high, that require the doors to automatically close, that require that the things where you say, oh, you know, it can be left open. Well, actually, pool-specific fences don't allow that to just happen.
But those fault all the time. My sister has a pool that's supposed to self-latch, it gets caught all the time, those erode, just like you could say the same thing
The
about
gates
the
are
pool
propped open.
cover. Yeah,
Sure, but if the gate's propped open, then, you know, somebody, it's no different than the cover being left
Right.
open, right? But at least if there is a fence, if nobody's in the area and it's functioning as it's supposed to be functioning, and for homeowners that care so much about safety, you'd assume that it would continue to function properly. Your property is pretty large. Say it's not your own kids, your youngest is 4, learning to swim soon if they don't already, but you have a party, you have a summer party, you've got toddlers who are there, you're across your property playing, whatever, it's a barbecue, people are playing pickleball, or not pickleball, badminton, something in the
yeah,
lawn.
they're distracted.
Right?
Yep.
And the pool's open because you're having a party.
Yeah.
And there's no fence around it. Nobody's at the pool area because everyone's on the other side
Right.
of your property. Well, by the time that toddler wanders off, people aren't paying attention.
That could happen within a pool that's fenced
But-
without a proper adult supervision. That can happen under any circumstance. The biggest thing with pool drownings is, yes, kids not being able to swim, but it's also lack of adult supervision. So that could happen within the confines of a confined pool or outside of the pool area. That, I wouldn't blame that on a safety barrier, but improper adult supervision.
Sure, most child drownings are because they're adults not
Right.
watching them, right? So like the backup, the safety precautions that are in place are trying to avoid that with all intents and purposes.
Right.
And at least with a fence, with gates that automatically close,
Yep.
that, because by the time you get the alert, even if you're across your property, it's too late, right? That those 2 minutes, that's it, that's all it
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah.
And I guess I have young children, I
Yeah.
guess that's my,
No, an
concern,
accident's an accident.
and,
Yeah, I totally
you know,
understand. Yep.
so, that's all.
Yep. Yeah, we're healthcare professionals as well. If I were to have a party, it's already been, I would have a lifeguard there, I would have somebody that's designated adult to be watching the pool at certain times. I grew up around a pool, my mother has a pool, my sister has a pool, my in-laws have a pool. And we are very big on safety. This isn't just, I think the abutter was concerned it was about aesthetics. It's not. It's about functional use of our property, having safety. We don't want to endanger anyone in the community, family, friends, our neighborhood, whatsoever. It's just, there's always risks when it comes to a pool, whether it's fenced or not fenced, or you have these precautions or you don't. You just have to trust the adult who's in charge of that property and around that pool. So, I mean, I think if anything, we're asking the board to trust us to make sure that we're ensuring the safety of our family, our friends, and our neighborhood.
All right. So coming at this from an architect's perspective,
Yeah.
where there are issues of safety all the time, and that's really what this bylaw is. It's about safety.
Right.
Because it's been proven that in the lack of adult supervision, a fence has been the right approach to minimize that risk.
Right.
And calling a pool cover a horizontal fence may or may not be just a marketing
Mhm.
statement. But, so from an architect's perspective, I've always used a good general rule that if there is a safety risk, number one, you try to design out the risk. And if you can't do that, there's a pool in the program, it's a risky thing. Number two, you design in a passive safety feature. So then this is something like a guardrail or a fence that creates a physical barrier to someone who's had too much to drink, or a child with the latch way up high. That is part of the bylaw with the self-closing gate. And then if you cannot do that for whatever reason, then you get into an active system where someone needs to turn on an alarm, someone needs to latch into a safety harness or something. That's like the way design should go. So I am curious, related to your hardship, if you worked with your designer to come up with a fence enclosure that meets the bylaws, that does allow you to have a beautiful open property. Because I've been at pool parties and big giant lots that are attractive and spacious and in the landscape, right? It doesn't need to be a fence plunked down into the middle of a meadow. It can be a stone wall along two sides of it and a fence that's landscaped with beautiful hydrangeas. And it can be, I don't know. So I'm curious if you tried to meet the bylaws when you were looking at this as an option.
Yeah, we were. We originally thought that, because we knew it was a Massachusetts state allowance to have in most places the automatic pool cover, we thought that we would do that. And then when we realized it was a bylaw in Franklin, it was starting to become a more like a financial burden to be able to do like everything. And we at that point had already committed to the automatic pool cover.
Yeah, in so many words, the company basically said you don't have to. It's not, Massachusetts allows you to have a pool cover, because we brought that up about a fence. They said, no, you don't have to do that. We said, okay. And come to find out that Franklin is a town that does have that bylaw, so that was a little bit of a surprise and not factored in.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was reading ahead of this meeting of what different pool manufacturers and pool cover companies say about it in their different jurisdictions, and they said have the fence, and then the pool cover is the added safety on top of the fence. So that's too bad if they led you the other way.
Well, we looked it up too and saw that in Massachusetts it was, in different states it's allowed to, so we weren't trying to be totally like uneducated about it or thinking that it wasn't like a proper safety feature, so, yeah.
Okay, so you committed to the pool cover first, thinking you didn't need a fence. Would you be willing to go back and try to design a fence? Or you think the only option for your parcel is to completely fence the whole outside around? And that's where the financial hardship comes in.
The financial hardship would probably come in at
Both.
both. If
Yeah.
one's just a small, lesser financial hardship than the other. But yeah, it's something we'd have to explore.
Do all the technology, like the door alarms, the cameras, that all exists?
Yep,
Yes, that's already.
Turning place.
Starting place.
Okay.
because again, we have young children, so we've been living in the house for a year and we've already had everything set up.
I should note for the record that we got three letters from abutters, and I did drive by, and you can see, those photos looked accurate to me. Because from the street, looking past their house, I could see right into your backyard, over the stone wall. So, can definitely see their point. All right, well, this is probably a good time for me to open it up. If there are abutters here, any in the room?
Or just public?
Or on Zoom, or any public comment? If there's anybody on Zoom that wants to speak, can you raise your hand? No? Is there something in the chat? I thought I saw a chat pop up. No, at the bottom.
Yeah, there's. Can you see the chat or no? Or is that just like AI notes? Okay, got it. It's just saying that their notes being recorded.
Got it. Okay, well, this is where it's trying to hold ourselves to a standard of a variance of our bylaw, especially a safety variance. The hardship needs to be more than functional use of an open yard. You know, show that there's some reason, some tangible reason or financial reason why you can't make the fence to meet with the bylaw, which is the bylaw in our town.
Tulip.
It isn't. Somebody got unmuted. And then in terms of it not being a detriment, like there are neighbors that can just, with kids that can wander into your yard. They don't all have fences. Even the ones that do have fences, they're not pool fences. So that's not a barrier in line with our bylaws. Yeah, it's really concerning, and I don't think the case has been made for the variance. How does the rest of the board feel? Do you feel like you need more information, or willing to have a vote?
I'm willing to vote on that.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to either approve or deny the request for, oh, yeah.
Just close the public, if you're going to close the public hearing, you need to do that first.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
A second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public hearing's closed. Thank you, guys. All right. Do I hear a motion on the request for variance?
I never know whether to say in the motion or
Right.
what I want the vote to be, or to always say,
Make a motion to
yeah, it's different than, we always do this in the planning board. I make a motion to deny the application for variance for pool fence relief at 137 Maestro Drive.
All right.
I second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
One of these is going to be a little lengthy. Could we take the last one in place? That's for the 8x8 little variance. Because I think the second one with the solar panels is going to take some time.
Okay. As long as everyone's here, and we're past the time,
Yes,
so
that's
it
why I
should
figured
be.
that, yeah.
Everybody else okay with that?
I could go either way. I mean, I do have questions for that one as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to agenda item number 3.
Okay. Okay, time being approximately 8:15 PM. 680 Pleasant Street, Jesse Fanuele and Paula Carney.
Yes.
Applicant is seeking to construct an 8-foot by 8-foot attached addition. The proposed addition increases the non-conforming nature of the building. The building permit is denied without a special permit from the ZBA.
Yes.
All right.
I'm Jesse Fanuele, 680 Pleasant Street.
Hi, I'm Paula Carney, 680 Pleasant Street.
And just before, I think we start with what do we start with? I've never been to a meeting like this before. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so what you can do is give us an overview
Yeah.
of what you want to do. There was some paperwork you had to fill out.
Yes,
Building
yes.
Commissioner, you can reference that.
Yep.
If you have anything to present or
Okay.
project, Casey can help with that.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. We will ask questions
Sure.
and then decide whether we're going to, whether we're going to vote tonight or whether we need more information and so forth.
Okay, understood. So before I do a statement, I just would like to thank both the building commissioner and Casey Thayer for their transparency and openness in what this process is like and whatever the outcome. They've made it more painless than I thought it would be. So that's very much appreciated. Because this can seem a little daunting as a homeowner. So we have a home that was built in 1952. It's a small cape, and it was it's pre-existing and non-conforming as it is. There is an existing patio onto which we would like to construct this 8x8. Approximately, it's going to be a little smaller than that, depending on the design. this 8x8 small addition. And it would be, this addition would be over an existing developed area. There is a stream in the front of the house. We've already gone to conservation and gotten approval for any sort of disturbance of that concrete patio. They've approved it. So there's no detriment to the environment there. The residential use remains unchanged. As we see it, there's no major neighborhood impact. And certainly, no increase or detriment to public roadways or, water consumption, sewage, et cetera, as I stated on the supporting statement for the special permit, excuse me. We are asking for approximately 2 feet of relief, about 2.3 feet of relief. And it's a design hope, in terms of fitting onto that 8x8 structure and not redesigning the existing patio. So, is that
Yeah.
sufficient? Would you have questions? Can I help you?
They have pictures, or they have?
They have, I think they have everything, yeah.
We did get an email letter of support,
Okay.
so I'll mention that for the record.
Thank you.
I am going to go out to the public and see if there's any comments
Sure, absolutely.
first, or any abutters there. Be here. Anybody in Zoom? No? All right. Joe?
Yes, how long have you lived in the home, and
I bought the property in 2011, May 13th, so what is that, yesterday? I forgot to celebrate my anniversary of buying the home. And my wife and kids moved in 2015.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Glad you like it here.
Yeah, I worked in Franklin. I worked in Franklin from 2004 till 2019. And it was never a lot of teachers said, really, you want to live in the town in which you work? And I said, well, I'm almost on the Norfolk line, so. No, but
Right, right.
I've enjoyed it here. It's,
Good, good.
I have excellent neighbors.
I think this is a very easy, simple decision, in my opinion. I mean, I would like to see something that could even save the board some time. Someday we could work on that. Anything under 100 square feet, Gus would have the authority to approve. I mean, this is such minimal to take up the board's time and to put you through what you think you're going through, which is nothing, really. You're learning the procedure.
No, and we just talked about that at dinner and said, a lot of homeowners
This is
don't go through this, and it's nice that we're learning this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now you'll know for the next big one you come back.
right?
No, I'm all set.
Not on that
I
property,
don't think we can
No.
ever.
I'm all set. I have no
You got a little
Okay.
space between the garage and the house.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, maybe an ADU thing
There
with
you
the
go.
garage, but
We're doing
we'll,
the garage.
that's
Can't do
years
much
from now.
more to the house itself,
Definitely.
unfortunately or
I'm all set,
fortunately.
Chair.
All right, thanks.
So-
Megan?
Yeah, I just have one question. I'm looking at the drawing here that was submitted with it. Is this going to be an independent structure, or is it attached to something on the house? I couldn't really tell.
So that is still to be determined. We're working with a structural engineer to look at the concrete slab itself. It's, that gets into the building permit aspect of it. In all intents and purposes, it functions as an entryway into the home.
Oh, so it would be attached to it.
Attached in
Okay.
not necessarily a physical sense.
Okay.
Again, it has to do with how we're going to engineer it. If it's going to be, again, if we're using footings or we're using the slab itself, that determines the connection
Okay.
to the house.
Gotcha.
Yes.
But
But it would be flashed and weather tight to the home, so it functions as if it is attached.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I was-
sorry, there's some nuance there.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Thank you.
I don't have any question.
Thank you for the question, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Isabel,
I know all about the slab versus the footings and the structure.
Yeah.
So,
structural engineer.
yeah. If it's unheated, it's a little bit easier for you. I don't have any questions other than just a comment that, yeah, you're taking 2 feet away from the current setback, and it seems silly to have to come in front of us for this. But, and I can appreciate that we live in New England and you need to have a mudroom. I don't know how these houses were built without them, so, yeah, it seems very straightforward to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I won't take up more time.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it seems like you've been thoughtful about trying to stay within even the patio space, and just to add this functionality on your home. It's a good solution.
Thank you.
So good luck with the structural piece.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And because it's a special permit application, we need to read through all of the subcategories, right? Do you have those in front of you as well? Or do you want me to do it?
Talking about this one, right?
Do you need me to read through them?
Oh, no, we have to technically go through it.
Okay.
I'll do this part. I make a motion to approve the special permit for 680 Pleasant Street. I'm just going to read through these series of questions and have the board vote on each of these specific findings.
You need the drawing, date, and name?
Oh, we do that in zoning board?
Yeah.
Okay. Based on the, am I reading just this? The certified plot plan of 680 Pleasant Street dated April 2nd, 2026, completed by Continental Land Survey LLC.
That should be good.
All right. Great.
Going through the process too.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to vote on each of the following categories. The proposed project addresses or is consistent with neighborhood or town need, and these have to be roll call votes. So Isabel Carter,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
Jen, yes. Vehicular traffic flow, access and parking, and pedestrian safety are properly addressed. Isabel?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jen, yes. Public roadways, drainage, utilities, other infrastructure are adequate or will be upgraded to accommodate development. Isabel?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jen, yes. Neighborhood character and social structure will not be negatively impacted. Isabel?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jen, yes. Project will not destroy or cause substantial damage to any environmentally significant natural resource, habitat, or feature, or if it will, propose mitigation, remediation, replication, or compensatory measures are adequate. Isabel?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jen? Yes. Number, height, bulk, location, and siting of the buildings and structure will not result in abutting properties being deprived of light or fresh air circulation or being exposed to flooding or subjected to excessive noise, odor, light, vibrations, or airborne particulates. Janelle?
Yes.
Isabel?
Yes.
Jen, yes, mixing it up just to keep it interesting. Water consumption and sewer use, taking into consideration current and projected future local water supply and demand and wastewater treatment capacity will not be excessive. Isabel?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jen, yes. So that, there's supposed to be an overall one, isn't there? Or am I just making that up? We good? I thought there was an.
Do we just vote now on the special permit?
Okay, so overall, approval of the special permit based on the certified plat plan provided and dated April 2nd, 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for
And
going
and
through all of
thank you for
that.
maneuvering the agenda for us.
Yeah,
Much
yes.
appreciated.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's funny, it's the same thing that planning board, like, just do it
Yeah.
so differently.
You get out of there, really.
I know. But I'm really good at reading all those categories. Compensatory
Getting
every
good at
time
it.
we'll get you hung up. Yeah.
All right. Agenda item number 2.
All right, number 2. Time being approximately 8:30 PM, 54 Conlin Avenue. John P. Cambereri of 62 Conlin Avenue. Applicant is seeking to appeal the Franklin zoning code pertaining to the issuance of a building permit for the construction of a pergola to house solar panels.
And I'll just note, there's some nuances of language, whether this is an appeal of the zoning code. or
Thank you so much for mentioning that. I
interpret-
really appreciate that.
Yeah, an interpretation of the zoning code, or, there's, just recognizing that you're questioning a decision that was made, and that's what we're here to talk about.
And, and I thank you so much for starting with that, because I think it's just really important that the board, that you guys and really anyone is clear on why we're here, right? And I'm not here to appeal a building permit. If I was able to do that, I would have done that, right? Procedurally, I'm not able to do that. There was a 30-day period after the permit was issued. Construction didn't start after the 30-day period. My window to appeal the building permit passed long ago. So that's not why we're here. This structure that has been built at 54 Conlin Avenue is simply, I think, very clear to myself and my wife, is not compliant with Franklin zoning bylaws. I want to give you a little bit of context as to why we're here. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be heard and hear us out. It means a lot. And I'll start by saying...
Can you
know-
please introduce yourself?
Oh, by all means, yes,
Yeah,
thanks. Sorry about that. I'm John Cambereri at 62 Conlin Avenue. This is...
Hillary Cambereri, also 62 Conlin. Our son Leo was out there before, sorry for the racket from him. He's, 2.5 years old, so. But appreciate you having us tonight, thank you.
There's 2 more here, too. We just don't know their names yet, so... yeah.
In a few weeks, they're coming.
So our appeal to this is very specifically into the determination that what's been built at 54 is compliant with the bylaws. And I also want to preface too by saying this is not about solar. I'm an environmentalist. I love solar. I have no ill will towards my neighbor here. I think, I've met him on 2 occasions. He was very nice to come over last summer and say, there's a bunch of poison ivy kind of creeping into your yard if you want to address it. And the second time I met him was shortly after I had started to look into this, and he came over and apologized for not letting us know that he was building it, and that he would be making a modification to it that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I was a little confused why on the agenda and what was sent out to abutters, and even, Isaias and his attorney's response is about the building permit, when that's simply not what we're doing here. This is a non-compliant structure in our view. So we moved here to Franklin in May of 2024. We were so lucky to end up here. We came from Melrose. We wanted to end up here between the school systems and the community. And we put in way over a dozen offers around the state, and we're thrilled to end up here. Could not have been happier. But our son, who I'm sure you heard, spends, if the weather allows, every single day in our backyard. And so for us, this isn't really a theoretical situation. This was our forever home as far as we were concerned. So when construction first started, which was in October or November, and what really prefaced me to reach out to the building commissioner's office was a full-size cement truck driving a little bit onto my lawn and then into 54 Conlin's lawn. And at that point, I was like, what is being built here? I'd love to, there was no variance required. There was no notice given to any of the abutters. So, I had absolutely no idea exactly what was going on next door. So I spoke to Mr. Brown, who mentioned a few things, and I think it's really worth, discussing and talking about. That a number of plans had been submitted for this and been denied previously, and then that subsequently, the plan that was approved, he had no choice but to approve. And I was assured that the project was compliant with bylaws. And, as first-time homeowners, as new residents in Franklin, I really didn't have any other option or reason not to trust what I was being told, right? I mean, it's just common sense. But as construction really started to progress, so this was just when those concrete footings were going in, and we saw this massive structure, slowly being built, I was compelled to follow up again. I mean, it was just very surprising that a structure of this size and a solar panel structure, had been built without any sort of planning board or notice to abutters. That was just very, very surprising to me as a citizen. So, over the following months, I tried to do what I could. I asked questions. I asked to meet with the building commissioner so I could better understand the reasoning behind this being built. That meeting didn't happen, unfortunately. What I was receiving from the building commissioner were, indications in writing and in emails that, and I'll read one from January 5th of this year, after speaking with him, and this is in our submission here, that the structure at 54 Conlin Avenue will be modified where there are no solar panels. And I've submitted a couple of pictures along with this too. There are essentially 6 separate sections of this solar panel array that have been built. Very interestingly, on the plans that were submitted, it's very clear that it calls for 5 sections, and one of these sections does not have solar panels on it at all, so I'm not really sure what purpose it serves. So after I kind of brought that to the commissioner's attention, I received a very clear and unequivocal message. To me, this is from the building commissioner and something I can rely on, that this structure will be modified where there are no solar panels. So I have no basis to not believe or rely that was going to happen at some point to bring this structure into compliance. I mean, the building commissioner is telling me this part of this is going to be removed where there are no solar panels on it. So, so some time continued to go by. It was about February. No changes to the structure had been made, and again, I followed up again to say, where is this? Is this it? Is this the structure we expect to see here? And I was again informed. This was on Franklin letterhead and sent by the building commissioner, and I included in the appeal saying that this structure, per the owner, and again confirming from the building commissioner, will be modified to bring it into compliance. I understand it doesn't say into compliance, but if a building commissioner is telling me a structure needs or will be modified, I think it's pretty safe to assume it would have to be modified to be brought into zoning compliance. So the structure did not materially change. What did change was once I filed and asked for a zoning determination to be made by the commissioner, and his response was, I'm not going to make a determination until the as-built has been submitted, was that eventually I heard back a couple of days later that the as-built had been submitted, that the structure was compliant, and that any changes at that point would be up to the homeowner, which is, I hope you can understand, just in a complete disconnect between what we had been told on several occasions in writing and where we eventually got to, which was whether it's changed or not is not really up to the town at this point. So, I think there's several points here, right? This structure is, to me, and to my wife and a number of other people I've spoken to, a ground-mounted solar energy system. That's the only purpose it has served until Monday of this week. I reviewed obviously what the owner of 54 Conlin submitted in terms of a defense here. And the pictures being shown to you of tables and chairs were taken on Monday of this week, and the addition of the table and chairs were on Monday, that same day. So this is a structure that has only operated as as a ground-mounted solar energy system since, by the timeline I'm kind of looking at, let's call it 4 or 5 months, right? So, to that right there, I think says a lot about what I think we're just very unclear why this was classified as anything other than a ground-mounted solar energy system. It's the only purpose it has served. The plans submitted along with the structure included massive lithium batteries. The fire department obviously had to do an inspection of some kind. Obviously not privy to all the permits that are issued in this town. I would be really curious if there are any other pergolas that have been submitted for permitting in this town that included lithium batteries and solar panels, right? I'd love to know that. I'd be really interested in finding that out. So ultimately, we feel there is a number of grave concerns here, right? The structure itself has been misclassified. Had it been correctly classified as ground-mounted solar, I hope this board is aware there is a very, very specific bylaw that was enacted by this town in 2018, unanimously approved by whomever voted on it, to ask for additional, very reasonable setback and planning board requirements should anybody be interested in doing this. I understand from what was submitted by the owner of 54 Conlin, his attorney. I believe they're going to come up here and argue to you that that bylaw is unenforceable. I'm under the impression this bylaw still very much exists and is in the town code, so I don't know how that really makes sense. And additionally, Massachusetts has, in 1985, very clearly said, we need to make sure there are very limited restrictions on what people can do with solar. I totally agree. Like solar, I would love solar. If we could put it on our house, we would absolutely do it. In terms of cost feasibility and the way our roof points and things like that, it's just not in the cards for us, and that's okay. But the state of Massachusetts in 1985 said we need to make sure there aren't unreasonable restrictions on solar. Couldn't agree more. And then subsequently in 2018, this town passes a very specific bylaw saying you absolutely can build solar here. We're just going to ask that you take some extra steps to avoid inconveniencing your neighbors, and that is additional setback requirements and additional planning board review. I, to this day, have never received an explanation or am completely mystified as to how the designation of this structure went from a ground-mounted solar energy system to a pergola. And in fact, in the plan submitted for permitting, it is referred to as a ground mount in multiple occasions. It is certainly referred to as a pergola, but there are multiple pages within the submission document for permitting that refer to this as a ground mount. So I'm still, months and months later, completely unclear on how the designation was made here. I really, we really feel that the zoning board should be aware of that. And again, for us, as we've continued through this, and really, I've learned so much about municipal government and codes over the past few months. It's been a lot, fun in a way. But to us, there's really three things we've got to look at. It's this is, in our opinion, a ground-mounted solar energy system, and 185/19E really should be applied here. The plans that have been submitted for this pergola do not match what has been built. I understand there's a letter from the engineer that's been submitted, in its defense that says these are, he calls them acceptable modifications. I'm really curious, acceptable to whom exactly? I mean, the plans were submitted was for a 5-section structure that now has 6 sections, and 1 section does not have any solar panels on it. So again, we want to be really, really clear. We don't oppose solar. I have no personal issue with my neighbor whatsoever. I'm not mad at anybody. He submitted plans for approval. He asked the town to build something, and the town said yes, right? So how am I mad at him? I'm not at all. Like, I want him to have a structure that, you know, if he's looking to do ground-mounted solar, by all means. But we have very, very specific bylaws that were written in this town set to, I wasn't privy to the 2018 discussions, as to why this was enacted. I can only imagine that the additional setback requirements in planning board review were put into effect to minimize the impact on abutters. And in this particular instance, again, I don't understand why these were ignored. It's been concerning, for me for some time. So I know I've talked a lot, there's a lot, I would have even more to say, but I want to be cognizant of your time. What this really comes down to, I feel, is the precedent that would be set if this structure, as it is, in a residential neighborhood, zone 4, right, or zone 5 that we're in, where no other similar structure has been built or exists. To me, the precedent that would be set by saying this is perfectly fine as is really good. I would expect to see more people like me in front of you in the future, right? That right there, right? I mean, in terms of, you've got a very, very specific town bylaw that we're not looking to adhere to for some reason, right? So I think that's certainly a precedent. I hope, the board will really consider if this determination stands. I think it really, when this, I mean, that's really where we're at with that. That's kind of wanted to add. We want solar. This is not personal with my neighbor. He asked for permission, it was granted. Our concern at the end of the day is whether the town interpreted and applied its own bylaws consistently and fairly. And we think it's very clear that they were not here. So we really would very respectfully ask you take all this in consideration. We've submitted a number of photos of this ground-mounted solar energy system. And, I don't know what the determination is here, to be really honest with you. I don't know what the fix is. I do know that from all the research that I've done, this is very clearly not compliant with the bylaws of this town. So I don't know what the remediation is, but we do feel very strongly between the unequivocal, clear comments made by the commissioner that this structure will need to be modified to be brought into compliance, and 185-19E, that something has to change here.
Am I able to speak for a moment, or would you prefer to ask some questions first? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just reiterate that I think everything that my husband has said, we're in agreement on. It's been a frustrating situation for us to see this structure come up while we're trying to make, the home prepared for the impending twins that we have. But again, I would also reiterate that solar is not at all a problem here. We would love to install it on our own property if we could. And I think the only issue that we've taken with our neighbor is that we didn't have the opportunity, because he didn't tell us ahead of time whether or not he was required by you to do so. But as neighbors, we think that it's just a neighborly thing to do, to be able to tell your neighbors when you're going to be doing major construction like that visually imposes on their property. So the few things I would also add to that are, one, we had hoped that we could stay here for a while in that house. Hopefully that still will be the case. We've been trying to make some modifications to fit our growing family. We really, really love Franklin. In fact, my brother, who is watching our son right now, moved to Franklin because we talked so highly of it, and he and his wife bought a house here just last December. So we want to stay in the town. We like it here. We're very happy with our property as well. But in the event that we have to move at some point to upsize to accommodate our growing family, we're concerned about the long-term effects on the resale value of the home, because we've had multiple contractors that have been coming over as we try to make improvements to our own home. It's not an exaggeration to say every single person who comes over to our house comments on the structure. And I think the reason is because it feels very visually imposing on our house. JP, John spoke to a number of things that we've seen as far as like when the furniture went in and the progress of everything. That's because it's literally outside our window. It's unavoidable for us to not look at this thing on a regular basis. And so it's hard when we're outside in the backyard with our son playing, as he said. I try to take pictures to send to family members and things, and it's in the background of every picture. It's just been a bit disappointing that for us in our home that this is in the background. Obviously, I'm pregnant, very pregnant, so just take apologies. But the other thing is we've just been putting together our nursery and putting the final touches on it. And this is the view outside of our nursery window. So it's just been frustrating, I think, that we've had a difficult time trying to understand exactly what the process is here. I would just echo that I think the outcome that we're looking for is really just that other neighbors don't have to go through this in future, that they're given the opportunity to appeal something before the construction starts, and I don't think we were afforded that opportunity. And that would be the main thing, that just greater transparency for abutters, giving people the opportunity to appeal a permit if it's approved, and giving the property owner the opportunity to modify it too, to make sure that they are, keeping the other neighbors happy around them, right? We all want to be good neighbors to each other. So I think that's the biggest thing for us, is just hoping that if this is happening to somebody else in future, that there's further consideration for that. Thank you.
She makes a really good point. Had a variance been required here, we would have been here before you to say, we really don't think a variance is appropriate. You're going to make your decision. We would have to live with that, right? But at least we would have had that opportunity prior to it being built. Then, us having to come to you after the structure has been built to, I think, really point out an injustice, really, that's been done here in terms of allowing this to move forward with the bylaws that exist in this town and were created for a very, very specific reason.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. I know you're here for the property. You're here for the property owner?
Yes.
All right. Then we'll have.
Just a question, a procedural question. It's their application. Would they speak as a part of the public hearing comments as a resident in town? I mean,
I think so.
this is not part of the.
Right, I'm the
No.
petitioner, right? Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all right, let's, procedurally, the kinds of things that we hear, and we have open hearings on, are for variances, are for special permits, and are for appeals. And so this is an appeal.
Yes, definitely. Of a zoning determination, not of a building permit, just to be
Of a
really
zoning
clear.
determination.
Yeah.
And.
I've been told this is compliant. I'm here today to say, I'm appealing to you, this is not a compliant structure. It's just not. I wish it had been done the right way. I really do. I wouldn't be here if it had been done the right way.
So maybe before we get to the public comment, I'd like to ask the building commissioner if you can give the board an overview of the timeline from your perspective, what was submitted in terms of if this was, I'm hearing, was one of multiple applications?
Through the chair, could I make a suggestion? This is I want to say this slowly, this is going to be a very hard decision. whatever happens here tonight could possibly bring the town into a lawsuit. That being said, I did a lot of homework on this. They are not appealing the building permit. This is no different than the September Drive situation. A lot of emotions. We have no control over that. If I can read one thing to you, this might alleviate a lot, because by having too much conversation could possibly lead the right or wrong way and be used possibly against the board and possibly a lawsuit. Obviously, they're here because they're very protective of their property, and I would assume they're probably not going to stop you. So I'd like to just read this, and then I won't make it.
I don't think that's a fair assumption to make at all.
I have the floor, please.
Please go, Joe.
Solar panels on a pergola are considered an as-of-right Massachusetts, meaning local zoning bylaws cannot prohibit them, though they are subject to reasonable regulations such as a building and electrical permits, which they comply. Under MGL C 40A, Section 3, zoning ordinance cannot unreasonably restrict solar energy systems or structures that facilitate their use, which includes solar pergolas. I'll go a little deeper now in the Mass Code, and I'm surprised you don't have this because you're pretty up to date on it.
Oh, I am, for sure. Oh, I am.
As of right protection, Massachusetts state law prevents municipalities from passing bylaws that ban small-scale solar, including ground-mounted or accessory structures like pergolas. This is a 100% as of right by the state situation. We have no control of it. Anything we say may and can be used against us. I'm just trying to not drag us into something. The building permit, he admits, was correct. It sits in excess of 10 feet as an accessory structure away from the sideline. It meets the 15-foot setback with the solar panels on it. There is no law on how many panels can be on the pergola, whether it's 4, 5, 6, or 7. This is exactly what he keeps mentioning 2018. Well, 2018, you had to have a relative and be the owner of the home to have an ADU. Things have changed aggressively since 2018 up until today. Again, this is a protected right as of use. I feel bad. I wouldn't want that either.
I absolutely agree with you.
But you can't stop this in Massachusetts. This will go to court.
I absolutely
It'll get
agree.
dragged out, and the court will allow these people to maintain the pergola with the solar panels. We didn't make this. This is your state. This is who you vote for.
I absolutely, but you said yourself, the town is not allowed to impose unreasonable restrictions.
Safety and health.
Excuse me. The increasing a setback from 10 feet to 20 feet and asking for planning board, on what planet is that an unreasonable ask, right? I mean, believe me, I understand where you're at completely. We're talking about a law that I agree with, and I could not agree with more. But this town came together 9-0 vote in 2018 to say, we're going to ask for some very reasonable
All right, hold on.
additional
We're
restrictions.
not going to define reasonable on that.
Again,
Yep.
the more discussion we have, it could lead us deeper down a rabbit hole. It's state ordinance. We have no right to approve or disapprove. It's an as of right. No different than somebody right now, he could take that pergola down, someone could go build a house 10 feet from that lot line, and put solar panels on the roof. It's as of right by the state. We have no control, I'm sorry.
If I'm understanding you correctly, your position here, Mr. Halligan, is that 185-19E is not enforceable in any way, shape, or form within the town of Franklin?
Not as of today. The state
So it exists within the
The
bylaws?
state overrode that since 2018, yes.
So it exists within the bylaws, but it in no way is it enforceable? Is that what your opinion is?
Again, I don't suggest that the board comments on this. This is my opinion, and I'm only an alternate, I'm not a voting member
Sir,
tonight.
you offered a lot of opinions.
I'm just letting you know, I didn't make this up.
I'm very aware of that.
Okay.
All right. This didn't come before us because it was determined by the building commissioner that it did not need further review
That's
from the planning board, from the zoning board, and so forth. Because it was submitted as a request for a pergola with solar panels on it. Correct?
Through the chair,
Yep.
Gus Brown, Building Commissioner. We received an application that we dove into to make sure we gave it as much scrutinization as we possibly could under the building code and the zoning code. It complies with setbacks, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I want to just touch on a couple statements that were made by the abutters. This variance was never was never required because this structure is not out of compliance. We made sure that when we issued the building permit, we got a plot plan proposed that showed this structure with its height meeting and its setback meeting 185-19 B6. And as you can see with the as-built that the abutter submitted, or actually I got the as-built from the pergola owner, it complies with setbacks. In conjunction with the town attorney, throughout this whole process, the town attorney advised me that this was not a ground mount system. To touch on what Mr. Halligan said, if there was a shed in someone's backyard that was within 10 feet of the property line, it could have solar panels on it as well. It's not a ground mount system, it's an elevated system. And that's how I made my determination as to its compliance.
Is it possible this is a case of where you have a neighbor that puts up a very large, one-sided finished fence, and the good neighborly thing is to have the good fence facing your neighbor, but they put the ugly side of the fence towards their neighbor? Is that a good comparable? Because I drove by it. I feel for you.
Thank you.
It looks unfinished.
I feel like I'm
It's a pergola.
on the same page of the first time in months,
Pergolas
really.
are meant to be finished. Pergolas are everywhere.
I mean, you can have nice pergolas, you can have rustic, unfinished looking pergolas, and this is the latter, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Truly.
I agree.
But can,
So I'd just like to touch on that. I'm sure the town attorney would tell me not to get into aesthetics
Right.
over this situation, simply because if this does go to court, we've looked at something that we determine is subjective to the way it looks.
yeah.
We're talking a lot about litigation. I'm not here with an attorney today.
No, I
but
think-
I'm a little confused by the continuing implications that we're
We're not-
gonna sue here?
Yeah, we're not
I'm-
asking him to take
And
it
why would
down.
that be pertinent to what we're talking about in terms of bylaws?
Because
we
what we say in here
Uh-huh.
is public record.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it really isn't our role to be commenting on aesthetics of things
Yeah.
in people's properties.
I don't think I bring up
Especially as
aesthetics
long as-
once.
As long as things are within compliance, which has been determined by the building commissioner that it is. So that's why we just have to be careful about what we can even comment on if it's not for us to review.
I can understand that perspective, but I'm here to appeal the determination that this is compliant, right? I mean, irrespective of opinions of whether or not that I will become litigious aren't relevant to what we're talking about right now.
It's whether it's interpreted as a ground mount solar per superseded bylaw or a solar array on a pergola.
Well, it's not just
your
that. That's one
interpretation that you're
factor.
looking for.
Again, I would reiterate, the plans submitted do not match what has been built, which Massachusetts law,
Which I'm going to stop you right there because
Yes.
it's not for the zoning board to check as built against permits. So let's not get into that.
I think.
you're losing me a little bit. So MGL 40A, Massachusetts law, that very clearly states that things that are submitted for permitting should be built as close to that as possible is not something we're able to talk about? Just help me understand, sorry.
It's not the zoning, that's not in the zoning board of appeals purview, is to be following up and chasing as-bills.
I'm under the impression the building commissioner has a duty and obligation to adhere to MGL 40A, that what has been submitted for permitting and what it ends up being have to be as close as possible. And in this case, there is an entire 6th section that, I mean, very, very clearly, again, I include this right here, right?
I'll stop you there, John.
From Whistling Consulting, number of reported sections is 5.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
We can see that.
So through the chair,
Yeah.
what Mr. Cambereri is talking about is subjective as well. However, because I have a stamped engineered plan from an engineer, professional engineer from Massachusetts, stating that it is built, it is as built as the plans show, he, Mr. Cambereri, has the right, if I determine that there's some sort of askew item, to ask for a peer review from another engineer to make sure that this structure is built to the plans. I will defend him on that one. And that's strictly in the building department. That's where that begins and ends.
Okay. Is that the path that you wish to go down, is working with the building
Yeah, it's a great
department and
question.
having a peer
I've really thought about this.
review?
In all due respect, tried to work with the building commissioner on this on a number of occasions. I'd asked to set up a meeting. I came here to town hall to meet with them. That didn't occur. I've asked and asked and asked. I've talked to town councilors about this. I've made every effort I could very early on to figure, try to understand what the reason, like how the determination was reached. And I remember even being asked at one point, what would you want to happen? And to be honest with you, I don't really know. I'll be very honest with you. Do I want to see this torn to the ground? Like, no. I think it's an insane cost to him. I think that, again, I have no ill, I don't want to cause any bad blood. I have no ill will towards 54 Common whatsoever. He asked for permission.
Okay.
They said yes,
I'll
right?
stop you there again.
Sorry to interrupt. The town attorney and I spoke in length at this, and his advice to me was to recommend that the abutter hire an attorney to represent him. Now that's not enforceable. That was just a recommendation.
Made that recommendation to me? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
I believe I did, yes. It might not have been in writing, it might have been verbal.
No, that did not occur, but
Yeah,
that's
I think
fine.
we ever spoke
Yeah.
And I just want to reinforce too that we're not attempting to seek legal action here to ask him to take it down. It's really about the precedent that it sets for future homeowners. We just, based on the size of the structure and the use of the structure, and for us, the aesthetics of the structure, which I understand doesn't necessarily factor in here to your decision, that in future, these things are considered more closely and are required to be, required for abutters to be notified before decisions are made about the position as well as the build, so the building permit as well as the zoning for the item, because I just feel like we weren't afforded an opportunity that we should have been based on, again, the location of it, how close it is to our property line, and how imposing it feels on our property. It's not our intention to ask him
With a
to take
request
it
for
down.
variance, before it was built, we would have come here and said, hey, we'd really prefer you not do this, or you do it in a way that isn't so imposing on our property. And you could have made a decision being like, no, he gets the variance. And I would just have to live with that. That would have been, but at least I would have been able to come here and say,
Yeah.
I'd really rather not, right?
Yeah.
Through the
Go
chair-
ahead.
Madam Chair, I have a few questions, and these might be mostly to the building commissioner through you. Some clarifying. I'm trying to understand what we can or cannot comment on, but I do just have some general questions. Mostly about definitions. Because I keep like scrubbing through our own bylaws, trying to understand kind of conformity, basically. The pictures are obvious in terms of, yeah, there's an additional section versus, compared to what the plans are provided. I think that the building commissioner has made it clear that maybe a peer review or determination could be made separately, but I have questions about just general definitions. With accessory structures, what is considered common grade? Right, because the building height is determined off of common grade. Is it the common grade of the accessory structure, or is it of the lot?
It's the average grade of just around the
The
accessory
structure.
structure.
Okay, thank you.
And that can be subjective, too.
Okay, and then my next question is the height of the accessory structure is not to be less than the distance of the common height to the side yard setback. Meaning if the height is 15 feet, it's supposed to be 15 feet from the side yard. So is that correct? Is that correct? Am
That's
I
correct.
interpreting that correctly?
Yes, you are.
No, I think it's a.
And it's the average mean height of the roof.
It's a mean height. So because it's 15 here and it's 8 here, that makes the mean height is, do the math, 11 and a half feet. So it would need to be 11 and a half feet from the fence.
Depending on how the roof is shaped, too.
Right. So verification of the heights on either end, the mean determining the common height compared to the common grade are the key dimensions that would indicate conformity or nonconformity with the setback requirements of the based on the accessory dwelling bylaws, or not dwelling, accessory structure bylaws. Is that fair to say?
And that is never done without a surveyor who is licensed in the state of Massachusetts to put that on the plot plan to make sure that we're not guessing what the mean height is.
Right.
And that's another subjective point as well with the surveyor doing his job.
So maybe I just missed that. Is there a common grade indicated on the plot
Yes.
plan
there
that's
is.
provided at the, okay, at the accessory structure? It is on there.
It's on there, yeah.
Okay.
99.7.
What is it, sorry?
99.7 feet.
Sure, but then do we have that relative to what the heights are in section?
Mean
Because
height
those
is-
are,
Well, they put mean height, they didn't give us low point and high point.
Great point.
yeah,
They gave us the mean.
the mean, so, okay,
So
okay.
I would think,
So
as Gus was stating, subjective
To
to the surveyor.
the surveyor, right, or possible peer review to verify some of these things. Okay, I just want to clarify some of the
In this
definitions.
case, with those numbers and that mean height and that average grade, they can be as close as 11.1 feet to the
Right,
lot line
because
and
that's what the distance is to the
11.3.
fence. Yeah, okay, thank you for clarifying.
I apologize, I need to excuse myself really quickly,
Yeah.
but if you guys conclude before I return, I just want to say thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lost sight of myself.
Well, I mean, we've opened up a public hearing for this appeal.
And I know you're the chairperson, and I respect you, and whether you want to hear from the person that put up the pergola and his attorney, that's your call. But they are here.
Yeah.
I know there is a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah,
So the applicant.
which we got a copy of.
The applicant has admitted they're not here to appeal the building permit.
Mhm.
So the
Right.
pergola stays. That's got nothing to do with it. Where he's appealing the decision if the solar panels are ground mounted to a bylaw that he violated.
No, that's
No,
not
that's
correct.
not.
No.
Well, didn't you say you're not?
I am
gonna-
appealing the determination by the building commissioner, and, you know, if you need to reread my submission, please, by all means. The determination by the building commissioner that the structure that's been built is compliant with the town zoning laws, bylaws.
The structure is, it's a building permit, and that does comply. The pergola, the structure complies.
I think the clarification is if it complies with the as-built provided drawing.
Yes.
Maybe I'm,
Yes.
right, that's what's in question, and I think that is slightly different, because they're,
Are you implying that someone did an as-built that's not correct? I mean, I'm just trying to...
from the plans that I saw, they don't seem to necessarily represent exactly the photographs that I've seen and the drive, what I saw from driving by.
But would that still fall under a ZBA issue if it's not? That would be the zoning officer, correct?
That is,
Yeah, that would be him. It's not even a ZBA issue.
Right, so I guess I want to understand, like, what do we,
What can we do?
what can we do?
Right.
That's what I'm confused.
And I will read one section here quick. This might help a little bit, and he may have something to stand on if he can prove that. No zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit or unreasonably regulate the installation of solar systems or the building of the structure that facilitates the collection of solar energy, except where necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah, it's a great law. It's a
Can you-
phenomenal law.
Do you have any issues with health, safety, or welfare? Then maybe we have something to stand on.
Yes, the huge lithium batteries that exist within this home that are I understand that it's been by the fire code, but we are talking about lithium batteries that are, from my understanding, very, very large, right? And they've been submitted in the plans here. But again, that's just one additional component here of why I'm here today, right?
So where are those batteries stored right now? Where are they? Are they right next to your property within 10 feet?
They would certainly be close enough that if they were to catch on fire, that we would be impacted.
Similar to an automobile or a furnace or anything like that. I agree. I mean, where are they?
We can make any comparison we
Are
want.
they stored within the home? Are they exterior?
They're within the home. But irrespective, that's not why I'm really here. That's one portion of it. I will just reiterate why I'm here, right? The plans that were submitted, this structure does not conform to. It's just as simple as that. What was submitted and said you can build this is not what exists at 54 Conlin Avenue. And additionally, had I had the opportunity and the procedural ability to appeal the building permit, I absolutely would have, right? But this is a scenario where the permit was granted on September 25th, 2025, and and no notice to abutters was required, but then construction doesn't begin until November. So I would love to understand from the board, at what point would I have had the ability to appeal the building permit? If I wasn't notified, right, as an abutter, and I don't see construction beginning until after the 30 days from the permit is issued, how would I have been able to appeal the building permit?
With the chair, again, same situation, September Drive. I could wake up tomorrow and someone could be putting a 900 square foot home 10 feet from my property line, and I'd wake up and go, how come I wasn't notified? That's the state law right now.
Yeah, I get it.
I feel bad. I'm on your side. There's nothing we
okay.
can do. I mean,
You can determine that this is a not compliant structure and ask that it be brought into compliance, whether that is adhering to the plans that were built, whether that is, asking him to adhere to the 20-foot setback. I feel personally, again, I'm not an attorney, you have power here to determine that this structure is not compliant, and it needs to be brought into compliance through whatever remediation that might be. That's not up to me, or for me to tell you.
through the chair, Madam Chairperson, I feel that it is a public hearing, and I feel that it's pertinent that the pergola installer and his attorney get to speak.
Okay. All right. So I would like Can you please
Yeah,
come
by all
up?
means. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah.
For display purposes, how can I hook this up to your system? Do you want me to bring it to you or bring it to Gus? And I brought copies. My
Thank
teacher
you.
skills. Over 20 years as a teacher, I can't drive a pocket of bringing extra copies everywhere I go. There you go.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have one over here too. Yeah. And I brought a dongle, again, just in case. I don't have a flash drive, but I do have, again, all my old teacher skills coming into play here. I have all types of different ways to attach. It looks like another one.
So you can see the site.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It looks like a dongle. But this is not. Of course, you have the one apparatus that I don't have here. No, this is HDMI.
He's an HDMI.
This dongle is not for an HDMI. Can I email it to, or I did email it to the building department. Are you able to display it?
We have it on ours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Looks like I'm gonna have to get multiple dongles. Okay. I feel for you with the little boy. I had 4 in 6 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. They'll keep you busy. Yeah. Mine are big now. Chase them in different ways. Okay. All right. As a PDF, so.
Did you switch it?
This is why I bring my copies.
Done it over here.
Oh, there we go, all right. Now, this is actually as a PDF. Do you know a way to display it as a slideshow, or shall I just take what I can get here? Control L, try that. Control L. Control L.
Sorry, never mind. I
Oh.
realized she's on the web. Oh, sorry.
Let's see.
The next button to the right.
We may have to do with zooming and getting the best and closest we can get here. Just give me 1 second while I get through. Okay. Oh, I think I went a little bit too big here. All right, how does that look for everybody? Can everybody see that okay? Oops, now you can't, pardon me. Okay, that could be as good as I can get it.
That's good.
Thank you. Alyssa Daigneault, I'm an attorney here representing the owner of 54 Conlon, Sias, and his family. Sias came here to this country from Ethiopia, and he lives in Franklin with his family. He was inspired to do this project by his daughter. He has a young daughter who asked him once when talking about fuel usage, how come you're not doing anything about the impact on the planet? And he was inspired. Esaias also works for Eversource, so he is a professional in the electrical field and very passionate about solar energy. I can appreciate that this particular case, in many ways, is a case of first impression. The Massachusetts Clean Energy Act was passed just in 2024. And a lot of the provisions of the act and the protections that are in the act, in accordance to Chapter 48, Section 3, are new for communities to deal with. And, having an attorney march in here and tell you your ordinances are out of date is not really my job, right? It is, but it's not. I'm not here to poo-poo that. This is really an evolution, and I think everybody in the room can feel that. I know certainly the neighbors are feeling it. You're feeling it as you drive by, and it looks different to you, and it looks maybe not like everything else. And so when things are changing and things are a little different, that can be a little bit, can put everybody a little bit on guard. So I think Esaias hired me, certainly in his words, he gets a little tongue-tied and he doesn't really like to speak in public. And so he hired me to come in and just talk to you a little bit about his property rights, which is something that I'm really passionate about as an attorney, about people's property rights. And I know you all in this room must be really passionate about property rights, or you wouldn't be a part of a zoning board. And so thank you for the time. And I can feel, the neighbors' distress. I understand that, they were taken off guard. And of course, by the letter of the law, they didn't need to be put on notice, right? He was building an as-built structure that was as of right. He had the rights from the building commissioner to build it. He did not have to stand in front of the board and ask for a variance. And, certainly people could say, well, the neighborly thing to do, maybe you should have knocked on the door. There's also cultural things going on here. There's more than just what meets the eye. And so I think sometimes just to have everybody in the room is a good idea, because you get to see the faces and the people that are involved and get a deeper appreciation for maybe some of the cultural barriers and the different types of things there in terms of approaching neighbors. So, in this particular instance, I just want to really start off with looking at the pergola and give you a bit of a timeline. So the building application, the permit was submitted, as the appellant correctly stated, in September. And the construction began in November and went on throughout the winter, right? So when he talks about the fact that, this Monday things started to look lively and put plants out, etc., well, that's because this is a really new structure and it's just starting to come to life. And my client is just starting to use it. The structure it's not all the way finished. He's got right now there are 18 panels on there, and there will be a total of 24. And so that is, I think, some of the confusion that's going on, maybe with the neighbors, about why it looks unfinished. And the solar roof still has an additional 6 panels to be installed, and that building permit is enacted and ready to go, and he has an electrical permit that has been pulled by his certified electrician. I would also like to just commend my client for really being thorough with his compliance with the building department, the engineers, getting all of the different certifications, engineers, plans, surveys, all the things that he needed to do. He had very good intentions from the very beginning when he began his project. He really wanted this to be done right. He's very, very attentive to details and making sure that things get done right. And he really wanted to make sure that he checked all the boxes with the building department. And to the appellant's, comment about the visual appeal of it, my only pushback on that is, we all have different opinions about the way that things look. But even if you were to go on best case scenario with their assessment that this should be built 20 feet off of the property line, and you look at the plot plan, and it shifted this structure 10 feet to the right, it still would have the same visual impact from their yard, from their second floor, and from their nursery window. So, you know, I can appreciate that the aesthetics of the building may not be something that another person may or may not like, but I hope by the end of my presentation you can see that this is a well-meaning neighbor putting up a structure to make his house green. He is putting energy back into the grid. He is off of the grid, not using energy. And he's really doing all of the things that we are intending to do, not only as a state, but as a nation right now, in trying to become more green and become more responsible about our energy usage. And this is literally the type of project that the Clean Energy Act of 2024 really was intended to protect. And his property rights here are being rightfully protected by the building commissioner, Mr. Brown, and by the town of Franklin. Okay, so as I lead you through, I'm going to talk about two different things. The first will be the classification of this particular structure as an accessory structure versus a ground-mounted solar panel array system, and really delineating those two things, I think, is an important place to start, because as you're looking at your ordinance, even if we were to go by the letter of the law in 2018, you're really looking at the difference between 185-19 section letter B and letter D. And you'll see that you probably have the materials yourself. I also put it into my materials for you in case you needed an extra reference. After we talk about the structure itself being classified as an accessory structure and not as a ground-mounted solar array, then I will lead you just a little bit more into the discussion around Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3, and the protections of the Clean Energy Act that were enacted in 2024. Okay, here we go. I'm going to attempt to scroll. Here I come. Oh, pardon me. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So again, this really just reiterates why this permit is a valid zoning permit. The appellant correctly stated, if this was an appeal of the actual building permit, it would be moot because it would have had to have been filed within 30 days. So we're really here to talk about zoning. And the two things that we are talking about are firstly this accessory structure, and then secondly that the regulations that you have enacted in 2018, because these are cases of first impression, they are going to be seen likely as overly burdensome and void.
I'll just ask, I don't think you need to read every slide to us since we did
Okay.
get these in advance, so
Oh, okay,
we can
perfect.
go fairly quickly.
Okay, sure, I will definitely do that. So let's talk about the compliance of the structure. This particular structure, as you can see here, right, this is defined as an accessory structure. It's incidental, subordinate to the principal dwelling. That is by definition what it is. It's consistent with Massachusetts general laws. And the solar panels in the structure and the top portion of the picture here, they are the roof of the pergola, right? So they're functioning as the actual roof of the pergola itself. The pergola is the accessory structure. The solar panels function as the roof. And so therefore, it is correctly delineated as an accessory structure under your ordinances 185, section 19, letter B. And in the bottom picture, you can see the bottom picture would be what someone might consider a ground-mounted solar array. And typically, these are more industrial in nature. And if you look at the intent of your section 185-19, letter E, really that's to protect people in that particular instance from these large ground-mounted solar arrays that would be more industrial in nature. Okay. All right, moving right along. So secondly, I just want to point out that the structure is built and certified by an engineer. The as-built has been certified. The building commissioner is correct. His determination is correct. They came out, they certified it. Every building plan, when it's submitted to the building commissioner, is submitted as a plan. And then
they come out, they build it, and then it gets certified after. The building commissioner has authority over that, and the engineers further certified that in the certified letter that is also in your materials. The second issue, even if we were to go down the road of being ground mounted, which in this particular instance, I do believe the legal classification of that structure is an accessory structure. But even if we were to go down the road of a solar array and or a ground mounted solar panel, these rules would be considered burdensome, right? What you're doing is adding on additional restrictions for people that are trying to be well-meaning citizens and add solar to their property in order to help them and help the community. You can see maybe the graph on the right when you got your materials, maybe it wasn't totally clear to you, but the graph on the right, that is Asias's actual energy production from his house. So far at 54 Conlin Avenue, you can see the benefits that it's already providing, not only to his family, but also giving energy back to the grid. Right? So especially with the rising fuel costs and how expensive it is for homeowners to heat their houses these days and things like that, that this is definitely something that is really important to Asias and his family. So in conclusion, we really request that the board, uphold this zoning determination that was correctly made by Mr. Brown and the building commissioner and the building department. Again, appreciating that these cases, a lot of them are cases of first impression, and I know that can feel a little bit new to everybody. I'll take questions if anybody has any about the current state of the structure and anything else that I can do to help anybody understand more about this particular solar pergola.
Thank you. I just have to reiterate a little bit of what we've said up here. I don't think there's much we can have an opinion on. Because it is compliant with an accessory structure as determined by the building commissioner, and if the applicant wants to get a peer reviewer or have somebody else state that it's not built compliant, that's a different path. It's not through the zoning board.
I was just gonna ask, is that something that we can request, or is that something that, through the chair, Madam Chair, that the applicant would need to request the building commissioner?
Through the chair, to you. I would need, I feel, some evidence, which means I would go out and I would look at it, and then I would make a determination whether I think it meets the intent of what he pulled a building permit for, as far as, is it built the way the plans show? And with the abutter saying that it is not, if that's something that, we haven't signed off on the building permit yet. So I feel that with the added panels that he's going to put up, it's a perfect opportunity to go out there and take a look at it and see what I think. Again, I'm not an engineer, but I know enough to read plans, and I feel like it's something that would be warranted at this point.
One of the most clear things that I just got from your presentation, thank you very much. Besides, I also don't like public speaking.
I can answer small questions.
No, it's okay.
I wouldn't be talking like her. We can feel it already.
That it's evolving. You're not done yet.
Well,
you still have an open permit. There's more to do. I think that's what's most striking about it, is that it looks unfinished, and that's because it is. I don't know, this is advice from a resident a neighbor of Franklin that is, not the ZBA chair, like, share the finished plans, what you think it might look like. Is there going to be more plantings? Just, this is a neighborly thing.
I think it's subjective with what you said, Madam
Yeah.
Chairwoman. We don't have that ability to do that.
Right.
It's up to the homeowner. What he says, and I don't know if the zoning board, depending on what they determine tonight, if at all, the report would probably come back to me. I don't know if there's conditions you could put on it aesthetically. But I think the homeowner and the homeowner's attorney have heard enough tonight that they may come back and have ideas.
Come back to you or to us?
Back to me.
Like to, yeah.
I have a couple just, again, questions. I'm trying to understand what recourse there is, if any, or what could be done and by who. Through you, Madam Chair, to Gus, the compliance, a certified as-built is it means somebody went out there and said, this is what was built. But I guess what I'm wondering is what was built match what was submitted for the building permit? Because those are two different things. And as-built means that's not what's submitted for the building permit. And as-built means this is what was built, right? Construction documents or permit drawings are what are submitted for a building permit. And so I guess that's one question I have is what we're questioning is what was submitted for permit, what was built and shown in the certified as-built.
So through the chairwoman, I have no reason to believe not, because I have a stamped plan of an as-built, and I'm not going to say it's going to be subjective, but there's going to be certain things that may aesthetically look different. And if that's what we're dealing with, I don't do aesthetics.
I'm not talking aesthetics. I'm
Okay.
talking like a 6 structural bay versus the 5 that were submitted for the building permit.
It's not my feeling that there's anything wrong with the structure when I see a stamp on it, but I'm willing to go out.
Okay. And then my second question, is part of the evaluation, or do we have any way to compare the as-built indicated dimensions against the required height restrictions and setbacks, meaning it's not supposed to exceed 15 feet. Well, the dimension string that's shown goes to the top of the structure, doesn't go to the top of the solar panel. The 15 feet is supposed to be inclusive of the solar panel. It's also supposed to be taken from the common grade and is something that you'd be looking at potentially, are the dimension strings that were provided indicative of what is actually on site, meaning the grade's not aligned with the top of the footings. So I guess I'm just trying to understand like what you would be looking at versus a peer reviewer and like what, does any of that matter? You know,
Right. Certainly, the job of the ZBA tonight is to hear the appeal of a zoning compliance.
Yeah.
All the other things that are being brought up are strictly me.
right, okay.
And I feel that because of it being appealed, and also, in addition to this, I want to be clear that Mr. Cambereri has a right, if this board chooses to deny his appeal, after 20 days, he can appeal again. So just to be aware that it doesn't necessarily end here tonight. It could, and then in 20 days, Mr. Cambereri can appeal it again. So we want to make sure that we're trying to be good servants of the town and make sure that we do our jobs. I feel in this case we have, but Mr. Cambereri is here because he doesn't feel that that's necessarily true. And I'm sorry to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to be as respectful with this whole situation as I can and leave no stone unturned. And I feel like, Alyssa, did a fantastic job. I believe the Camporeris did a fantastic job. It's just where we're at right now. And whether or not we close the hearing and vote whatever way you do, there's still more work to be done.
If I may direct you to the engineer's letter that I also included it in my packet. In the very first paragraph, it reads very specifically that the installation was inspected and found to be in compliance with the layout plan as specified in the report product installation criteria and the requirements of the current building code. And this was prepared by the same engineer that prepared the complete engineering packet that was submitted to the building department to Mr. Brown. And so just to give you a little bit of reference, Weisling Consulting, the engineering company, prepared a very extensive, which I didn't put in your packet because it's long and onerous, it's about 35 pages, engineering plan that went along with this project that was submitted to the building department. That plan, right, was then built, and then it was certified at the final conclusion at the request of the building department, and that's what this letter represents. So this engineer is the same engineer that drew up the plans.
We understand.
And then.
We understand.
Again, Chad, just as a last.
And my client just has one comment too before we go, if that's okay.
I'm sorry, my name is Isaias, 54 Conlin Ave, and bear with me, please. So the reason I stopped working on it is because of the hearing. Like if there's, I get messages like your neighbor's not happy about it. It's not my intention to go to hurt anybody or anything like that. I feel like she told you, I'm from Ethiopia, and maybe I'm not, in the culture is not synced in yet. I came in 2002. I feel like I feel like home here, but my thought process was like, if I get to building commissioner or the building department, get my permits, and this is not my first job. Like I did my deck myself, I pulled the permit myself, did the job myself, and when I'm done with that job, the then inspector, I forgot his name, but he was surprised that I did it by myself, and the delays within the work was not intentional. It's because I was doing it myself with little help from friends and people I know. So I do it whenever I get a time. I do it whenever I get money to buy something, and that's probably. And I offered Mr. I'm sorry if I said your last name, Mr. Camporelli, right? I went there, we spoke about it, and I said I'm sorry about it. And I offered if there's anything I can do to reduce if it's imposing to him, like putting a lattice and stuff like that. But all along, that area was a dead area with poison ivy. Changing it into this is intentional, like dual purpose, to use it as somewhere to recreate, and it would serve me. And I just changed my heat pump, my gas heater to heat pump, and it was running. Heat pump, it takes a lot of energy to run, and it's running the whole house with the heat pump with just the 18. But the original plan was 24, and I don't want to go everywhere with this. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But I'm willing to cover it up, make it aesthetically appealing by putting lattice, but the job is not done.
All right.
I want to mention something about the battery part. LiFePO battery, so it's not a lithium battery. It's more sophisticated than anything you can do. We have advanced very much when it comes to batteries. They have their own fire arresters if there was a fire. Run of fire, they call it in the electrical world, and it would stop before it gets anywhere. And I basically built a vault in the basement. I thank you, Mr. Brown. You put me through, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but every questions that I got, I made it, and it helped me to make it even better. And, you know, that area, the electric inspectors, putting it that way, it made it even better. I'm not afraid. It's in my basement, not even close to the side of my house. It's on my driveway side of the house in the basement. And I'm not afraid of that because it has its own fire arresters.
There are many houses in Franklin with solar and batteries. So in terms of that being a health and safety concern.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
To the chair, there have been advances in requirements over the years because of us learning more about them.
Yeah.
And the protection in the basements are a sealed unit down there with a similar setup that has fire protection and separation like a garage.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments.
Just
One
one
thing,
quick-
and then I'd like to hear a
Okay.
motion to close the public.
I really appreciate everything that was said here tonight, and it was educational, but please keep in mind, we're only here to determine whether the zoning officer made a correct determination of the zoning bylaws to allow this to be built. We have nothing to do with the structure or how it's built as built. That's the only appeal here, is did he make the right decision?
All right. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I'm so sorry, are we not going to do public comments? I'm under the impression there's several of my neighbors that are on this Zoom waiting to be heard.
Oh, are there? We can't see the
Oh,
list.
when we
Yeah.
switched over.
Yeah, we do need
Do you want me to unplug this? Would that be helpful?
Uh-oh. Is Zoom still on? Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Okay.
Go back.
Okay. We can open up the public hearing. We should have a time limit.
Yes. If there are folks on Zoom that wish to speak, we're getting late, so we'll keep it to 2 minutes per comment. And can you please raise your hand, and then Casey will unmute in the order. And this is related to zoning determination, whether this was allowed to be built without seeking further planning board review, or whether it's an accessory structure by right. Can you use the raise hand function?
Oh,
All
there's
right.
one. Chris.
Hi, Chris Dorado, 54 Anthony Road,
Thank you.
in the neighborhood. Feel bad for both my neighbors in this situation. The gentleman at 54 Conlin who built this, and the gentleman who lives next door at 62. While I believe it is unsightly, I also get that that is subjective. I will say that calling this a pergola itself is subjective in my opinion. It's about as subjective as calling a pool cover a horizontal ladder, which we talked about earlier tonight. And I hope you can appreciate that. In my opinion, if it were to be modified, you know, lowering it down, it looks like an industrial structure in an otherwise very appealing neighborhood. And yeah, I feel like more due diligence should have had to been done. I myself had to come to the zoning board to put an addition on my house. I know Mr. Davies in our neighborhood also had to do that. During his hearing, Mr. Hunchard at the time commented that his shed would need to be moved to the middle of his yard. And he said, well, it's not a big deal. I own the house next door. And he said, no, it's a town bylaw. It needs to be in the middle. So I just don't understand how something like a shed can be put in a corner, but this very large structure can just be put on the side of a yard. And I fear that my neighbors may start to do this, and who's to stop them from putting it in the front yard? Or if I put a giant shed in my front yard and I put a dog door on it, that's not a doghouse. So calling this a pergola is just laughable in my opinion.
Thank you very much, Chris. Anybody else want to speak? All right, going once. All right.
Okay,
Can
make
I
the
make a
motion.
comment?
Oh, yeah.
Real quick? Sorry.
Go ahead, Megan.
I just want to say I trust our building commissioner, Gus Brown's ability to determine if this was in compliance or not. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right. Do I hear a motion to deny the appeal of a zoning determination?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
This isn't, as Gus said, it's an evolving process. This isn't a complete project. And there's more work to be done on the building commissioner's side. And, appreciate both sides coming together to even just have the conversation. All right? All right. Yeah. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? We have no minutes to review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.